One lesson that I want to share with other countries, that leadership is crucial at a country level. To be clear of what you want and say so to your people. The people may not support everything that's necessary. Institutional reform, consumption expenditure controls. I dare say habits of corruption are enjoyed by many in our countries. And when you put reforms, you confront them as well. But it's important to be intentional as leaders and then deliver that to our communities. They will go through the pain, but they will support you, as Zambians have done that. Thank you very much to the people of Zambia. Let me put context to this. Poverty, climate change. We have already argued that these are intertwined. You cannot expect a poor person to carry an additional burden. That is necessary to drive growth, to drive development. So poverty actually exacerbates the climate change mitigation measures, I argue. And it's very clear. If you are asking your poor people to switch energy sources, can they afford from charcoal to cleaner energy? They're already stressed. So we need to find mechanisms to support the poor in our countries, less privileged. I heard this word called poverty, the poor, but the less privileged, to be able to come through to support the changes that are required to mitigate climate change negative effects. I think that's very, very important. It's also true to say climate change, on the flip side, has imposed new obligations on the less privileged. For example, the farmer you saw, the farmer you went to visit, Secretary Yellen, Treasury Secretary Yellen, before they could, on 1 hectare, produce 2 hectares, produce enough for themselves and an excess for sale. But climate change measures have made it one season, the same rain season, one part of it is a drought. When the rain comes, it's a flood. One season. What chance does that farmer have? They absolutely don't have. So as we talk about climate change mitigations, financing, support, technology, farming methods, issues of genetics in agriculture, early maturing varieties, I'm just giving an example. Context are important to consider. So it's not just laying the resource envelope on the table. It is digging inside that envelope. How do we apply that envelope in order to take care of the child?
I think I will join those who are standing. I don't know the criteria, but let me join. Thank you very much, and let me appreciate my brother Macron for putting this How Dare You summit together. Our expectations of this a new global financing pact. What is our expectation? From the perspective from where I come from, we've had the testimonies from my dear sister Motley, from the Prime Minister of Pakistan, from the Sahel, from what is happening in Malawi, in Zambia, in Mozambique, what's happening in the Horn of Africa where I come from. We've lost millions of livestock because of drought. So climate change is real, no doubt. We're living through it every day. From where I sit, we need, out of this summit, we need two outcomes. Number one, we need to agree on how do we get emergency liquidity, number one. How do we deal with debt that is saddling many developing countries? And how do we get additional money in the context of what Motley said in the morning, urgency and scale? Those two things we need just to answer. In my very respectful submission, I believe we should not leave this conference until we agree on what we are going to do to get many countries in the global south to at least be in a position to have a conversation by sorting out their immediate issues.
I played a key role as chair of the African Union during the COVID period. We felt like we were beggars when it came to vaccine availability, when we felt we needed access to vaccines, and the Northern Hemisphere countries had bought all the vaccines in the world, and they were hogging them. And they didn't want to release them at the time when we needed them most. And we felt like we were begging. And at times it felt like they would just be droppings from the table, that yes, we will give you that and that. And let me tell you something that generated a lot of resentment. We were all at one, that even as we were going to address an issue of the war which has had a negative impact on the African continent, which is the rise in prices for food, rise in prices for fertilizers, we were clear that we are not going there as beggars. We're not going to ask for a favor to both Ukraine and Russia. We were going there to say, open up the Black Sea Channel so that the grains and the fertilizers should go into the world market. So we were not on a begging mission, even as we are in great need as a continent and all that. That should go to demonstrate that Africa should never be seen as a continent that needs generosity. We want to be treated as equals.
Welcome to my channel, where we discuss everything and all things politics, especially about the 2023 presidential election in Nigeria. And we all know that Tinubu is the INEC declared president of Nigeria. He is the one that is in charge of the country. But the elections are not over until the Supreme Court rule. Now, from the videos you've seen now a while ago, you saw the presidents of Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema, Hakainde Hichilema, the president of Zambia. He spoke at the Paris Economic Summit, in which you saw Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the opening ceremony, where he was received on a red carpet by the president of France. Then you saw, and the presidents of Zambia articulated Africa's position and the Zimbabwe's position at the occasion. You saw the president of Kenya, William Ruto, how he was able to address the issues that concerns Africa and its relationship with the rest of the world. And you saw South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. Did you see the president of Nigeria articulate any position? Of course you did not. And there are no videos of him at the live session. He was represented, even though he was in Paris. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. Nigeria has the largest economy in Africa, but Nigeria is also well challenged. Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. Nigeria has the highest rate of unemployment in the world, or one of the highest rate of unemployment in the world. Over 133 million Nigerians are living with poverty. Nigeria suffers most from climate change impacts than any other country because of Nigeria's size. And the poverty in Nigeria is exacerbated by climate change. And of course, poor economic policies and choices of Nigerian leaders. But who was there to articulate Nigeria's problems and to show that Nigeria is indeed the giant of Africa? As Bola Ahmed Tinubu was missing in action. Sadly, he's missing in action in terms of participating effectively in what took him to Paris, because the economic summit was played out by his image makers as being very important to him and to Nigeria, that he had to be there. But it was his ceremonial appearance that had been available. There are no videos of him talking with the world leaders, articulating Nigeria's position as the giant of Africa. He was missing in action. And Nigerians are not talking about it. Instead, what they were talking about was that the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, did not take photograph with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As if taking photograph with Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the solution to Nigeria's problem, or the essence of the summit. The essence of the summit is for Nigeria to go there and show leadership. But Nigeria did not appear there to show leadership. In an event that leaders were expected to articulate viewpoints that represent the views of their people, Nigeria was missing in action. Nigeria was conspicuously missing in action. So how can Nigeria claim to be the giant of Africa when it cannot even speak out for Africa? Because its leader failed to do what the president of Zambia did, what the president of Kenya did, what the presidents of South Africa did, showing leadership. Instead, there was so much noises that Dr. Okonjo-Iweala had to call on Nigerians to relax because they were attacking her and stay united, noting that the attacks on her over her picture with President Tinubu was unnecessary. Now, this issue came up because there were several pictures that Ngozi was uploading, Dr. Ngozi was uploading, which initially there was no picture with Tinubu. Okay? But like Ngozi explained, Ngozi was not the one taking the pictures. At her level, she must have aides that take pictures. And she said she was uploading those pictures as she received it. World Trade Organization is an international organization. Because she's a Nigerian doesn't mean that she has to show or tell them to take picture of him, of herself with Nigeria's president. Besides, who knows the time that even Tinubu arrived at the occasion that warranted the taking of the pictures? Because if he could not make himself available to speak live with his colleagues, he could as well be at the background where it will take a while before Ngozi could take picture with him. Now, Ngozi noted that Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala noted that the controversy surrounding why her picture with Tinubu was posted late on her Twitter account show how divided or polarized Nigerians are. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who was reacting to comments on social media about her pictures with other world leaders at the just concluded Paris Economic Summit, as well as her picture with President Tinubu, she said these things shows how polarized the country is. And of course, the country is polarized because of the divisive policies of the government in power since 2015. That's what created the polarization. There's no doubt about it. She says some Nigerians called out the World Trade Organization leader for not posting a picture of President Bola Tinubu in the pictures of her meetings with some other nations' presidents on her Twitter handle on Friday. She later posted the picture with Tinubu on Saturday morning. Reacting, the World Trade Organization boss said the controversy has exposed how polarized Nigeria has become. She tweeted, Nigerians, please relax. Interesting attacks from both sides. This sadly showed the depth of polarization in our society, she wrote in her Twitter handle. I post photos in the order received by accompanying staff or colleagues. Reading more into it is unwarranted. Let's unite to build our country, not attack. The Paris summit was convened by President Emmanuel Macron, which afforded President Tinubu the opportunity of projecting on a global stage. That's what I was saying earlier. It was an opportunity for Tinubu to project on a global stage, to say something, and not for him to delegate an ambassador to go and speak on behalf of Nigeria. If you can be in Paris and then you delegate, what's the essence of going to Paris? You could as well have stayed in Lagos or in Abuja. Okay? The Paris summit convened by President Emmanuel Macron afforded President Tinubu opportunity of projecting on a global scale his advocacy for widening the fiscal space, economic justice for Africa as the world accelerates the pace of energy transition, and the urgency of addressing the pressing issues of poverty and climate change. However, President Bola Tinubu failed to take part in a live economic session at the summit in Paris. The Nigerian leader asked the country's ambassador to represent him instead. And this was a report by the Gazette newspaper, because many Nigerians, when Nigerian media cover up this, they're not talking about it. But Gazette was courageous to reveal that even in Paris, while Tinubu was in Paris, he has to delegate his own speech to the ambassador of Nigeria in France to deliver on his behalf. While you saw the president of France, the president of Zambia, the president of South Africa, the president of Kenya, say their mind on what they think about their country, Africa, and the rest of the world in terms of the issues of financing, poverty, and climate change that took them to Paris. The world didn't hear from Nigerian leader, and Nigeria is the giant of Africa. What does that tell you? How did that portray Nigeria in the eyes of the international community? Does that show that Nigeria is ready to show leadership? That Nigerian leader even understood the issues? You can see how the president of Zambia was dissecting the issues, relating it to farmers in his country. Okay? You know that his grasp with the issues at stake. You saw the way, the confidence of the president of Kenya, his grasp of the issues at stake. You saw the South African president making his point. And Nigerian leader had to delegate somebody to speak on his behalf. Like as Gazette, the People's Gazette reported, they say it was not immediately clear why Mr. Tinubu could not go on stage by himself, especially as his office previously announced he was in France to attend the summit and participate in a debate about Africa's economic prospect. Of course, he didn't participate in the debate they did in Nigeria before the election. So maybe when he heard about the debate, he generally decided not to stretch himself because he's not a debate person. Obviously. But it's Nigeria that suffers for this kind of development. Now, the new global financing pact is an event that was organized aimed at finding efficient solutions to reduce poverty and adverse effects of climate change on the world financial system. So that's why he ought to have been there to say the Nigeria's position. But he was not there. And instead of his people being concerned about this, they were busy talking about Okonjo-Iweala, that he failed to take pictures with the president. One of those who made the highest noise on social media about it was Adamu Garba, the chieftain of the APC, who took to his Twitter handle to react to Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala that she did not take picture with Tinubu. So this reaction was before Okonjo-Iweala later uploaded the picture with Tinubu. He said, if she like, let her not acknowledge or recognize the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The same Nigeria that did everything for her to become who she is today is the leader who is she? Okay, she said that the same Nigeria that did everything for her to become who she is today is the leader of the same party, APC, which gave her the wherewithal to get her current office as DG of the World Trade Organization. If doing so is to spite Tinubu as a person, she should know that Tinubu is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Whoever spied him has done so against the government and the people of Nigeria. And we noted that. That is the concern of some people. Just mere pictures. They are not bothered about the fact that the issues that took Tinubu to Paris was not articulated in the presence of other world leaders, and that he delegated his speech to an ambassador. And a delegated authority is always a delegated authority. That delegated authority cannot be like the main authority. That was why you can see that the president of Zambia, South Africa, Kenya, they spoke with authority. That's different when an ambassador, a minister, go to represent a president in international setting of that magnitude in Paris. Especially when the same president was around. It's not as if he is somewhere else. He couldn't make it to Paris, but he was there. It diminishes the status of Nigeria as a giant of Africa in the eyes of the international community. It should be of much concern to Nigerians than who Okonjo-Iweala, the Director General of World Trade Organization, took picture with at the summit in Paris. Thank you for watching this video. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you and yours.